Welcome back to Breakfast Daily on City TV. Now remember, send us a message. It is Heritage Month, the whole month of March, and we want to know how you are celebrating Ghana. So you can hashtag Heritage Month on City, also hashtag Breakfast Daily, and send us a WhatsApp message on 0550 585832. We'd love to hear from you. Now, as we're going about our business each and every day, I'm sure many of us have realized that the price of fuel keeps increasing. How far is it going to go? I don't know if any of us really knows, but it's affecting everything. The price of transportation, food prices, etc. And it's really taking a toll on our pockets, isn't it? Well, let's take a look at this report to see what COPEC has to say about the increase in prices of fuel.
Beginning 1st of March, which is today, we are expecting that petrol would go to about 8.125 or 4.6%. Diesel could go to about 8.256, representing some 3.4% on previous pump prices. LPG is also expected to sell around some 9 cedi, 16 pesos. That would also be doing about 2.4% increase. We are worried about LPG pricing also, especially considering that the alternate fuel, which is charcoal firewood, is some disaster to the environment. Yet, as petrol and fuel prices are inching up by the day, you also have LPG prices also going up. There's general hardship as a result of these increases, and we have sent a couple of memos to the Finance Ministry suggesting that some of the windfall monies that we are currently accruing from our crude exports be applied to subsidize or reduce.
All right, so that was Duncan Amwa, the Executive Secretary of COPEC, just giving us some insight into the increase in fuel prices and the percentages by which fuel prices and LPG have increased and what we can expect to be paying as of yesterday. And I think several people have seen fuel price changes in the past couple of days. Now, David is on the ground out and about in town. We'll check in with him a bit later to see what he is seeing and what some fuel stations are offering as far as fuel prices, so you can see the variation in cost and calculate what you might be paying. Now, as we mentioned, this also has quite an impact on fuel prices, right? So for those of you, transport fares, if you're out and about, especially taking public transport, we know that fares increased by about 15% from what people were paying previously. All right, let's take a look at that.
Some of them, they came and they left because they are not aware. They were coming for 120 cedis and now it's 140 cedis. So in case if you have to sit in the car, unless you buy only water, but you can't buy food and eat again.
The first time I came, I paid 8.9. That was around 2020, December. Yeah, but as I'm moving around right now, it's like 115. So which I don't understand. So I just came there. The woman even told me that the increment was like based on 30%. That is 30%, but based on like the hardship in the economy, their boss said 15.
These are passengers who are yet to come to terms with a 15% increment in transport fares. Transport operators have cited the continuous hikes in fuel prices in recent times as the reason for the increase in fares. Whereas passengers vehemently oppose the 15% increment, drivers on the other hand are calling for more increment. According to them, the impact of the increase in fuel prices over the period outweighs the percentage increment in transport fares.
Because I'm ready because one can't no care in terminal afraid by ye. Once say we are quanoa, and sana won't feel baby any crowd won't titima and quasanyosono. Bokova Natchez was a sian for Subia, the Basso. The Abasa woke crowd with dino. No
for no. We shall press a new fuel, air corner. You have 15% to nuclear Somalia. Nanko saw Muyan about 30%. Oh, on the say car with Agina Hono. Will do here from Hanumo to Tamarana Bolagano. Oba Yusuf fuel about 27 million. Say Nebeka. Enti edi keke na car owners for there was some more car omoboa. Where they do omudibo aforia and answer na more car.
If you charge more, the customer won't come again. Simply because you go and compare the price over there, the transport cost and the amount you used to purchase the items. So after selling the items and you got to know that he has lost much money in it, he won't come to you again. You find another transporter to transport the items to the shop all the time. But we don't want it that way. We have to consider them. We have to say, some ways that will encourage them to come to us over here all the time. That's what we have been doing over here. So if government increase prices, lot of fares and so on and so forth, we don't go there.
It seems management of GPRTU is on the same page with its members. However, they are warning drivers against charging above the 15% increment as communicated by the group leadership.
When you go to a station and you know they are charging more than above 15%, you must complain to the station officers. GPRTU, we have officers at every station. That aside, we have our station guys who are also monitoring the system. So whenever you experience or you come across such problem, you must report to the nearest GPRTU office, and the officers are there to resolve the matter so that the correct fare will be charged. But if the driver corrects more than above what is expected of him and you didn't report, we may not know or we may not see it.
The Deputy General Secretary for the GPRTU, Yao Amankwa, also hinted of a possible increase in transport fares anytime there's a 10% price hike in fuel products in the coming days.
Well, we're not sure if the pressure will be eased anytime soon with regard to transport fares. But as I mentioned earlier, Kweku David is on standby. He's on the ground and he's going to give us some information on what fuel prices are looking like this morning. Hi, Kweku D.
Hello.
Hello.
Kweku.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm out here. I'm in Adabraka, and behind me is a total filling station, and yes, you're right. I mean, the prices are not looking good. Today the prices have gone up. In fact, yesterday I noticed they had gone up. I bought fuel in Achimota, where I live, at 8 cedis, 8.2. Ghana cedis, 8.299 Ghana cedis yesterday. But this morning, yes, where I am here, you can see the total behind me. The fuel is clear, how the price is there. Now, of course, Duncan Amwa of COPEC is actually suggesting that we're going to hit the 9 Ghana cedi mark by the end of this month. And so it doesn't look good. I don't know what we're going to do as a nation to stem this rise of the fuel price. But we're basically going to go around and show you the different companies and the different stations and the prices that are fuel is being sold out this morning.
Definitely, that would definitely be helpful, because then people can see whether or not the price is consistent across board or whether some stations are being a bit competitive and whether there's a variation in the price. But I mean, it's clear that it's crossed 8. There was always this talk about if or when it would go beyond 8 cedis a litre, and it has clearly crossed over the 8 cedi mark. And so the price we're seeing there this morning is, and it looks like, diesel and super are both the same price. There was a time where you'd always say that diesel is cheaper than petrol, but now we're not seeing that. And there isn't that much of a difference between regular super fuel and premium. Some people at Total, they call it Excellium. At Shell, it's V-Power. The more premium fuel, you can see there's also a narrower gap in price in that as well, whereas usually the price difference is a bit greater. But we've crossed the 8.
Yes,
You've verified that. So yeah, we're interested in seeing what some of the other stations are looking like as well, Kweku.
Yeah, so I'm going to move from here. We'll go to a different filling station, and then we'll bring you the what prices pertain at other filling stations as well in
But-
just a couple of minutes.
All right. By any chance, have you had any interaction with any fuel station attendants there, or even any drivers at the stations on what the impact has been as far as patronage of fuel?
No, not yet. No, not yet. What it is that a lot of filling stations are private franchises, and they are very defensive and protective over their operations. So until you go through a whole bureaucracy of going to headquarters and sending letters and all that, you will not be permitted to talk to anybody at the station itself. So what I will do when we go on the different rounds moving forward is to talk to other drivers on the road, at traffic lights and so on, and find out what their experiences have been and how they feel about the price going up to beyond 8.
Okay. All right, Kwekudi, thanks so much for that update, and we'll look forward to hearing from you as you move around the city. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right, so there you go. Kweku David on the ground, out and about, bringing us updates on fuel prices. We just saw what's happening at the Total petrol station in Adabraka, and he's going to move along, and hopefully we'll see what other stations are also advertising as far as their fuel prices. But if you're someone out there watching and you want to send a comment about the increase in fuel prices, about the increase in transport fares, and about the prospects for the future, what's going to happen? Are these increases going to be continuing at this kind of rate, or do you think we could get some respite soon? Now, Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of COPEC, will be joining us shortly, and I want to find out from him as well about his prediction that we could hit 9 cedis per litre by the end of March, and what it means for us as a nation that exports oil as well, especially with rising oil prices around the world. Is that good for us? How come we're paying more for fuel? Maybe he can break it down a bit simply for those of us lay people who want to understand a bit better. But once again, send us a message, #BreakfastDaily, #Heritage Month on City, and send a WhatsApp message, 0550-585832. Okay, we still want to hear from you. We're talking fuel prices, we're talking transport fares, and yes, we're still talking Heritage Month as well. So do stay tuned. You're still watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Again, send us your messages about our discussion on fuel prices. Now, let me take you to our story on citynewsroom.com. Fuel prices will hit 9 Ghana cedis per litre before the end of March. This is coming from COPEC. And as I mentioned, we'll be speaking with Duncan Amwa shortly. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana has predicted that fuel will sell at 9 cedis per litre by the close of March this year. According to COPEC, the unprecedented hike in the prices of fuel is partly due to the depreciation of the cedi and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is affecting international market prices. His comments come after an increase in fuel prices at some pumps from 7 cedis 99 pesos to 8 cedis 29 pesos. In an interview, Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa, said the current prices at the pumps is actually on the downside. Quote, what the situation in Ukraine will mean is that international market prices will continue to surge. Again, we also have a situation where the cedi is not doing so well. I foresee the Ghanaian fuel prices crossing 9 cedis per litre before the end of the month. Only 2 weeks ago, fuel prices averaged 6 cedis 40 pesos per litre as the price stabilization and recovery levy was reinstated by the National Petroleum Authority. The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Executive Secretary Duncan Amwa said he expected the increase to be much higher. COPEC had previously warned that if nothing is done by authorities in Ghana regarding the rising fuel prices on the global market as Russia invades Ukraine, fuel prices could cross the 8 cedis mark at the pumps in the first pricing window of March. So he was quite prescient with that prediction. The Institute for Energy Security is also predicting a 4% increase in the price of liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, diesel and petrol at the pumps in the first pricing window of March. So again, all those predictions have come to pass. We've crossed the 8 cedis mark. A barrel of Brent crude oil, which was going for about $66 a year ago and $78 at the start of 2022, jumped by 7.3% to over $103 a barrel in February, and all of that has contributed to what we're experiencing today at the pumps. All right. Again, for more info on that story, go to citynewsroom.com, and for more news in general, the same website, citynewsroom.com. And let me say a very good morning to the Executive Secretary of COPEC, who has joined me in the studio. Good morning, Duncan Amwa.
Good to be here again. Good to be back here.
Good to have you back here. And welcome to Heritage Month on City.
Yes, I would be happy to join your heritage. Is it a caravan?
The caravan is full, Duncan. Why didn't you register on time? You want to join now?
Yes.
We'll see if Samens can squeeze a seat in for you.
You would squeeze a seat.
Or maybe we'll eject Bernard Avila and put you in there.
Please eject Bernard
I
so I
think we
can.
should. Okay. Well, good to have you again, as I said.
Thank you.
The Heritage Caravan will be taking off, and they'll be buying a lot of fuel for this journey around the country. So let's talk fuel, shall we? The rising fuel prices, I mean, you predicted something. So far, we've crossed the 8 cedis mark. You say by the end of March, we'll be paying 9 cedis, maybe even more, for a litre of fuel. But Duncan, here's the question. We, Ghana, oil, we export it, don't we? Isn't that supposed to be good for us? If your oil prices are rising globally, over $103 a barrel, shouldn't that be good for us as a forex earner? Why are we then feeling the pinch at the pump for something that should be actually earning us revenue as a country? Why can't that cushion us a bit?
I think you are summing up the whole discussion in one question. And,
okay.
And I'm happy that we are moving from the tangentials. As a country, you have the upstream and the downstream. Mm-hmm. You are not a country that is just importing. You're also exporting.
Yes.
What Talo and the ENIs and Cosmos and others are producing, it's crude. They're producing for the Ghanaian people. Mm-hmm. We started oil exploration. This is the 11th year. And it's been good. We are doing between 165,000 barrels to almost 200,000 barrels. Far more significant than what Ukraine actually does. Ukraine is doing about 75,000 barrels. We are doing 165 to 200,000 barrels. So we are doing something at least.
How much of that stays here?
We have all manner of petroleum agreements.
Okay.
But let's say, give or take, 20% of that stays with the Ghanaian government and people. If you do, probably pick your calculator. We could do a simple math here.
Let's do it.
Do the minimum of 165.
Sorry.
Right. 165 times, say, 360.
Okay. All right.
Do 350. Give them some off days because they go to maintain the FPSO and all of that. So 350.
165 times 350 is
Yes.
57,750.
Okay. So that would be about 57 million. Okay, good.
Okay.
And if you do 20% of that, check how much that could be.
Okay, 11,550. So that's about 11 million
So that would be
500,000. Okay.
1.1 billion thereabout. That's what it means. Okay. 11 million. And now you projected in the 2022 budget
Yes.
that you were looking for $61.2. As I'm speaking with you this morning, oil has crossed $110 a barrel.
Yes.
So if you were looking for 61.2,
22 billion.
do 62.
Okay.
And you are doing 110. It's 111, right? That's a windfall gap of almost $50 a barrel. So do the $50 or do 40. Don't worry, let's do 40.
Okay.
$40 times the 11 million we did.
Yeah. 440 million.
So that's a lot.
That's
a windfall revenue. Not what you budgeted for. What you budgeted for the 60
Yes.
is a different money from what the surplus revenue
Right.
is. So you are gaining this amount, but you would want to pretend there's nothing coming in, right?
Is it pretend, or are we just being a bit too simplistic about the calculation? Are there other factors that we haven't considered?
I have the numbers, but I couldn't carry
problem.
them. But anybody at home could just follow the calculation.
Okay.
That's why we're breaking it down.
Yes.
So what you budgeted for is what you are using to support your budgetary expenditure.
Right.
The 61.2. So make it $62. If you are gaining 100, right? There's a gap of 38. That 38 cannot be budgeted revenue.
It's something you didn't even expect to get.
It's a surplus revenue you didn't expect. Because at the start of the year, we're doing 78, 70 and all.
Right.
So we
you
thought
were still, there was still surplus there.
there was still surplus. But you thought probably around March, it would decelerate to the 60s.
And it would taper off.
It would taper off. So
Okay.
you thought, give or take, averagely, you could be doing about 60. But for the first 2 months, you are doing 90 minimum. It's a windfall in there. That's some average windfall money that the finance ministry should be able to put to good use. Why I say we should put the two on the table. So we are calculating for upstream what revenue is coming in.
Okay.
And then downstream, where we go to import the finished product to come and sell to our people, there's pressure there. You are gaining here,
Yes.
but there's pressure here. So any reasonable finance person will say, okay, let me net off some of the pressure so I can stay stable or balance,
Right.
my books.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's no stability, there's no balancing.
Why?
If
If you're making a bit more here and there's pressure here, why can't you move a bit from your surplus to cushion the pressure, to ease the pressure here, so that we can all breathe a bit easier and not pay 8 CDs, 29 pesos per
it's actually
litre this
going to go to
morning?
9. It would go to 9
You said it. Okay, hold that thought. I can tell that Kweku David has moved to another petrol station. Looks like Goyle. We were at Total earlier. We saw the price there. Now, what's on the board at Goyle looks a bit less than what we saw at Total, but let's find out from David. Hi, Kwekudi.
Yes, Kokwi. Yes, so I'm here at the Farisco Junction area, heading towards the Accra Poly side, and the Goyle filling station here is showing what you see on your screens. There's 7.88, and this is markedly different if you're going to buy lots of fuel. But for those who buy regular amounts of fuel, as in maybe 3 gallons to 5 gallons, it may not make much of a difference in terms of the amount of money you're spending on your fuel anyway. So it's still quite high, and they're inching towards the 8 mark as well,
it's slowly,
because we know that Goyle was
difference. Yeah.
Come again?
I said it's about a 40 something pesos.
12 pesos between the
Yes.
7.8.
It's
The 7.8 and the.
so it's
How much is the And the 8.29 we saw at
okay.
At the
Yes.
south was 8 cities 20.
So that would be about
So
40.
it's about 40% difference
Exactly.
between the two.
Yes, 40% difference. Yes.
And we're sure that this is, it's not like somebody forgot to change the board. This is actually what GOIL is giving us this morning.
They haven't returned with new prices yet.
Okay.
They haven't adjusted yet.
Okay.
But they will.
They will.
Yes.
Okay. Duncan says this could change today. So those who are in the
anybody buying,
vicinity,
they should enjoy it.
they should do it now. Oh man.
No, but to Duncan Amwa, we also know that GOIL has also traditionally cushioned consumers by keeping their rates a little lower, you know, and then the other franchises have gone higher because they are also paying other things and, you know, and all of that. And they don't, of course, they're not a government outfit as well. So, you know, with GOIL, we know that this is a situation. So I don't know if they've not reflected the new rates or this is actually new rates as it is.
Okay.
These are old figures, and so if they decide to absorb the increase, then they can trade at the levels they are. But it's likely they would pass on something.
Okay.
They might not get to the 8.29. They can decide to do 8.2, 8.19, but eventually they would have to move up because the market is not favorable.
Okay. All right, Kweku. So far we've seen two, and you've given us some variation in price, at least for now.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross over to the other side of the road. Hopefully, the traffic is building up very quickly right now at where I am. So as soon as I get a chance, in about 2-3 seconds, I'm going to cross over to the road and then start speaking to some drivers over here. So let's find out what the drivers make of the current increases in fuel. So let me talk to this gentleman over here. My boss, good morning, sir. This is welcome to City TV.
Thank you.
The fuel prices, have you seen what's happening right now?
Yes.
What do you make of it?
I just saw that the fuel price has been increased to 8.29 at total. Yes. I just bought 300 and it didn't move as I was expecting it to move. So it's really affecting us. Yeah.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Okay, so as you heard, the driver there, he just bought 300 Ghana cedis worth of fuel, and the gauge didn't move as much as he was expecting it to. So what this is basically going to do to us is that we're putting a lot more money into our tanks and not getting as much out of it, and it's really going to create a lot of problems. I mean, personally, I had that experience yesterday. I put 100 Ghana cedis into my tank, and there was almost, an insignificant shift in the fuel gauge, and I was like, oh my goodness, where are we going with this? So yeah.
All right, Kwekudi, I'm sure you'll get more people to speak to as time goes on, and we'll touch base with you again shortly so we can find out how people feel about the increase in fuel prices at the pump. Okay.
Yes.
All righty.
Yes.
So Kwekudi is still on the move. He'll bring us more updates on that. I know Duncan is like, you can't help but chuckle in a melancholy manner. But what the guy said is actually true. I mean, you buy 300 cedis worth of petrol. That used to be fill your tank easily. Now you're lucky.
You're
lucky if you get half a tank.
Half. It's true.
Yeah.
And like we were discussing, it is not a situation that we cannot manage. We can. But the inaction of those in finance ministry, I keep hammering on them because that is where, whether it will go up or will go down, the whole gig would start from.
Okay.
When we want to increase taxes on fuel, they go to Parliament and say, oh, increase this and add this and take this out. Now, we are not even asking you to touch the taxes. Don't touch any tax. Leave it because the country is broke. So you collect the taxes, right?
Okay.
But manage such that what is being gained upstream, part of it goes to offset the pressure downstream. In other jurisdictions, they give part of their crude oil to their national refineries to refine, and then they keep their prices at the levels they want.
Okay.
So although it's probably going up in some places, there are also countries where if you go to oilprice.com, Their prices have been where it's been for almost 5 years. The Gulf Cooperation countries, particularly, you would hardly hear them complaining about fuel prices because they also produce the oil
in huge quantities.
In huge quantities, we are producing a lot more per what we consume. So we are a net exporter actually. We produce more than what we would have consumed. Assuming we were consuming everything we produce, there will be a surplus.
There will be surplus.
Yes.
This doesn't make sense then.
Yet we've signed agreements that says the oil companies, international oil companies, they should take the oil, go and sell and bring us money. No problem with that. Whatever they are selling, they are giving you surplus revenue because international market prices are pretty high at this point. And you are not expecting them to bring you the same returns they would have brought you when it was 60 or 50 or 30. When it's now 100, 110.
Does that depend on what kind of agreement was signed? Is there
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It should be just purely if you're making
It's
more,
market,
we
yes.
should get more.
So, Koki, you remember in 2015, crude prices tumbled to around $30 a barrel.
I remember.
Then, as an oil-producing country, per our budget, we had budgeted to get 55. We were getting 30 and below. Finance minister goes to parliament and say, okay, because we cannot get the expected revenue at 55, we are getting at 30. Allow Ghanaians to pay some taxes, which we put on the price build-up to be called special petroleum tax. It's still on there.
The SPT, yes.
The SPT is still reflective today, when it's 110. We are saying, don't worry, you keep the SPT there, right? But come back with the windfall proceeds.
Yeah.
Invite the BDCs over. Have a conversation. How much is the variance? What you are importing? Because per metric has moved from the 840 to about 900, right? What is the difference? How much are you importing per month? 40,000 metric. Okay, 40 times 6, that's about 24 million. Okay, I am going to make about 400 million anyway, if prices are where they are. I can cushion you to about 14 or 20 million. So stay prices, like gold has stayed their price.
Yes, for now at least.
Prices would eventually stay. The BDCs will not increase for the OMCs to also add. But sadly, the finance minister has gone to sleep. And the difficulty with what he's doing, he's seeking to do now, is that government itself will pay more eventually. Koki, I'll explain.
Please do. Okay.
Government remains the single largest consumer of petroleum on the Ghanaian market. Government doesn't import petrol, the finished product. Government doesn't have its own filling stations or dumps that the V8 would have to go and pick fuel from. So government also buys from the open
like
market.
We do.
But they don't take money from their pocket. You see, why we are complaining and why they are intransigent, they are not taking money directly from their pockets. So they don't feel it like the one who just paid 300 and the volumes have dropped because prices have gone up.
Yes.
Government will not feel it. But at the end of the accounting year, government would overshoot its expenditure.
On petrol.
Because, Koku, if you were spending, let's say, 500 million a month to fuel the security agencies, all the police cars you see, all the military cars, the Navy, patrol boats, everybody that needs fuel. Article 71 office holders who would need fuel. Go to Office of Government Machinery, Jubilee House, Peduase, every staffer that needs fuel. The government is going to pay top money because it has allowed the prices to go to where it is. But government will pay for it at the end of the accounting year. And that money might not be coming from somebody's direct account or pocket. So they don't feel it.
Okay, we do have to take a quick break, but I'll be curious to find out from you. Would you rather pay a bit more at the pump, maybe the government is getting a bit of surplus, or would you rather we get cushioned at the pump and pay the e-levy?
You see, Koku, the problem...
It's a revenue question, isn't it?
The problem, if you even paid e-levy, right, the government will still need revenue. If you paid all the taxes, if you added more taxes, even on petrol, the government, you know why they will need more revenue? UTAG is asking for more conditions of
Yes.
service. The doctors will soon start
Yes.
agitating because what you give to them to take home cannot take them home anymore.
So-
fuel prices alone will wipe out everything.
Everything.
So what you think you are saving, the system will come back and collect all of that. Meanwhile, if you had used that to subsidize or stabilize, what you would do is to make the doctor comfortable, the nurse, the teacher, the accountant, Kokui coming to work would not be sitting wondering, you know. Now when you see your fuel gauge,
I tell you,
the bars,
Duncan,
BP, people
but
are
I'm telling
driving
you,
with BP.
but you fan tra- Okay, so we'll take a quick break. You're still watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. I'm here with Duncan Amma. We're talking about fuel prices and the fuel price increases. Stay tuned. How has the fuel price increase affected you? Let us know. Hashtag Breakfast Daily. Send us a WhatsApp message, 0550-585832. We're still here with Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of COPEC, and we've been joined by George Nyaonu, who is the President of the Fuel Tankers Association of Ghana, and it's lovely to have you here on Breakfast Daily. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, too.
Now, George, people sometimes think that when they go to the pump, they buy their fuel, and the attendant says, oh, I'm starting. Watch the gauge. That there could be some untoward things going on. Oh, I didn't get the same fuel I got the last time. We saw the gentleman, we just spoke to someone who said, oh, he bought 300 cedis worth of fuel, but his gauge didn't move the way he thought he would. Now, with the changes in fuel prices that we're seeing, people still are a bit skeptical about the amount of fuel that they get at the pump and whether or not it is really the amount of fuel they're supposed to get. I'm really glad you're here today to explain to us whether or not we can trust the fuel that we're getting at the pumps and whether or not we're actually receiving what we're paying for. So welcome again.
Thank you.
Time for you to educate us on fuel adulteration and any cheating if it does happen at the pumps.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think, first of all, at the pump side, once my boss is here, he's the best person to
George.
talk about the pump side, because we, normally what we do is we only cast the product from one depot to another destination.
And then you
Then
remove your hands from the matter.
done. So with the pump or at the various filling station, we have nothing to do with that. So if there's any question to answer, my boss is the best person to answer.
So whatever you pick up in bulk, you just go and deliver it
Perfect.
to the OMC and you
Exactly. That is exactly what we have been doing.
Okay. And nothing happens in between that transportation process that people should be concerned about?
All right. Thank you. So far as I'm concerned, as national chairman to the Tanker Drivers Union, absolutely on our transit, nothing absolutely happened.
Duncan, you seem to have an opposing view to that.
Okay. The issue of adulteration.
Yes.
You see, Kokui, as we are crying for what we pay, and then you go and what you are expecting to get. I'm expecting to get bottled water, and then I'm getting gutter water. So that is what adulteration really means.
The quality of the fuel.
The quality, if it gets bad. Sometimes they are blamed. You know, sometimes the station managers also will play their own games.
Okay.
Where they are blamed is where in the movement of the product from one point to the other, you find institutions like MPA bust saying that the product has been adulterated. So we are setting out to ask,
how?
Do they know about it? Is it that somebody within the NPA and bust is also influencing something? Whatever is happening, because Koku, at the levels that we are paying, if I go and buy and my engine is also more functioning because of certain games that have been played, you know, backstage, then it's a big problem. And I think for those ones, Sir George, Bust, MP, everybody, those involved in the handling of the product from one point to the other, because you and I are not there.
No, and I'm not a technical person by any stretch of the imagination to even know what adulterated fuel looks like, smells like, you know, flows like.
The smell is sometimes repugnant, extremely.
So then educate us, George, about adulterated fuel and how you could even tell you're buying fuel that is substandard in quality. How would I know as a layperson? I wouldn't know.
Okay, thank you so much. I think things are changing, right? If I recollect my mind backwards in the 80s, yes, that we started this business. Honestly, when you smell a petrol, you know this is petrol.
Okay.
Yeah, blended by Tor. All right. Now, the product that we are using, which is finished product, I can tell you clearly, I'm not a technical man, but I can tell you, you cannot compare the former products to this current product that we are using in the system. Okay. But who am I to say something about it? MP is the regulator to come out and say, okay, it's quality. So once it is quality, yes, we are good to use.
Okay.
You get a point. But I can tell you, as an experienced tanker driver from about 30 years ago, when I smell petrol and its quality, I know. Even if I drop my finger into the petrol, I know this is a genuine petrol. If it is not genuine, I know. But let me come to the adulteration issue, the question that you asked. Clearly speaking, adulteration is something that we kick against it. It's not the best, and I will not sit down here as chairman to the drivers union and support anybody who adulterated product. Because myself, I buy fuel from various filling stations. Even our transporters, after loading the BROV trucks to the destinations, they buy fuel into the car, into our trucks. So what is the sense? Or why should I go and then adulterate product for me to go and buy the same product that I'm adulterating? You get the point? Recently, I heard it on the news by Bost saying tanker drivers have been adulterated product. They have arrested some trucks in Kumasi Depot. Yes, I will not say no to it. But how do they come out with that product? Because every product comes with densities. Okay. You get a point, which the public don't know. But we in the system, we know. Every product that we leave from the depots come out with density. It is the density that shows the quality of the product.
What are some of the ways that people allegedly are adulterating fuel?
Yeah, to me, I haven't done any adulteration
to the best
before.
Of your knowledge.
Yes, but for what I can say, the recent one, let me talk about the recent one. You know, the BROV tankers that we are operating is for exporters, and some of them are own OMCs. Okay. So when you leave for bus today, and then you discharge, the driver come back, the truck can be parked 2 weeks, 3 weeks without loading. Now, the transporter will not allow the truck to park. So when he gets another load somewhere, you get a point, they can go and load because he need money. Banks are chasing him to repay his debt from the banks. You get a point. The product that we are loading from the depots, we have black oil, we have naphtha, we have kero, we have petrol, we have AGO, we have
all being loaded in the same truck.
You get a point.
Are they washed after each product?
So it could be that maybe those transporters during that period use the truck to load different product, which eventually after loading that product, you need to go and wash the bulb before you load petrol or kerosene or diesel. It could be that during that time, the washing was not perfectly done properly. And that is the adulteration that they were talking about.
So you think it could be unintentional, but more negligence?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
It happens. Yeah, it happens. So to me, I will not sit down here and say, okay, it is not adulterated. You get the point. But how do they come? Which particular product do they identify that it has been used to adulterate the product? Then we have a point. Okay. You get a point. All right. It could be that, okay, they identify kerosene, they identify other products. So which premix, which particular product?
And how much?
And how exactly?
Is it a significant amount? Is it trace amounts of it? That would also be helpful.
Yeah.
Then you could even say, oh, it's trace amounts. Perhaps they didn't wash the vehicle properly, or no, this is significant. There was probably some kind of deliberate attempt.
So, what I have to say about the adulteration, if Bost is accusing with the tanker driver, then they should do their homework well. You get a point? They should do their homework well, very well. Simply because before the person who buy the sugarcane to the house, yes, you bring the sugarcane to the house, and then the flies follow the sugarcane to your house. You get a point? So if they have any challenge or issue, then they should do their homework very well.
Okay. We're going to check back in with Kweku David. Remember, he's going around town checking fuel prices in the system. So far, he's been to Total, he's been to Goil, and I understand he's going to bring us some prices from Shell so we can compare as well. Hi, Kweku D.
Hi, Kokwe. So yes, I mean, as the conversation rages on regarding, the cleanliness of fuel and all of that, we're here at the SU roundabout, the Shell at the SU roundabout. As you can see there, the rates there on the screen. They are 8.29, just like at the Total. But as you can see there, the V power is at 8.45. So these are the figures that we have here. Let me see if I can attempt to speak to a driver here. Let me just... Yes, okay, so there's a taxi driver here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, what's your name?
Stephen Ajay.
Stephen, what do you make of the current fuel prices now, and how is it affecting business?
Oh, the business is not good at all. The fuel is very high. So we can't buy the fuel to job.
What are you expecting from government to, in terms of looking at fuel? Because I hear that some people are suggesting that by the end of March, we would have crossed 9.
We need the government to reduce the petrol for us so that the business will go through.
All right. Well, I mean, Stephen Ajay is making his comments there. As you can see, the fuel prices are a challenge for everyone. And for taxi drivers, for private drivers, everybody is been hard hit by this. And if it goes any higher, I wonder how we're going to function. But, as I say, Ghanaians are magicians, and somehow we figure out a way to function regardless. Kokwi?
I know. Well, maybe so. But this can't continue in perpetuity. There has to be some kind of a solution to the escalating prices of fuel. So there it is again. So at Total reflected basically the same prices as Shell, 8 cedis 29 pesos a litre, and that's for both super and diesel. And of course, premium fuel, V-Power 845, same, it was similar to FEMAX, I believe. But Goil, we still saw them reflecting, should we say, the old price, which was less than 8 cedis, 7 cedis 90 pesos. So we'll see if that changes as the day goes along. All right. Thank you, Kweku David, for that update.
All right. See you soon.
Yes, see you back here soon in the studio. Okay. So again, if you're out there and you've noticed the price changes, let us know your thoughts. Send us a message. But I am curious though. All right. So transport operators say they've increased their prices already, and they could increase again with each of the increments in fuel. Now, some have criticized drivers and said that, well, when fuel prices go down, we don't see a commensurate reduction in transport fares. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that public transport drivers are overreacting to these fuel price increases? Do you think they're justified in increasing their prices? And do you think that indeed the criticism is true that they increase, but they don't ever decrease? What do you say to that, Duncan and George?
Cool. George said Ghanaians are magicians.
Oh yeah, David.
David said we are. And if there are any better magicians, they are the drivers. I do not see how any business would sustain itself when you've had fuel prices move from, was it 6 cedi? No, at the start of last year, we were doing 4 cedi 78, and then almost doubles, and then they do 15%, and then we say that, they are not fair to the system. I think that we are not fair to them. And the only challenge I foresee again, if you are not careful, accidents would increase this year. Because they would need whatever revenues they get to maintain their vehicles. You see, I am a realist. Sometimes it's not the very pleasant things, but we have to say them. If I am working and the income's coming in is good enough, my office is maintained. When you enter, you would see. When the revenues coming in is also poor, it would reflect in my work. If these drivers don't get what they deserve, and they would have to still work and make 20 cedis at the end of the day, 15 cedis, he can't stay at home, so he must go out and work. But if what he is getting is not enough to maintain or recondition the vehicle, his brake parts are worn out.
Instead to go to Abosowokan and pay 200 cedis, right? He says the whole week he has not been able to make that kind of money. So he want to drive on. Eventually, if there's an emergency thing, imagine what happens. So we are part of the problem. Why you go to Circle and most of the cars are so very old.
Yes.
You recall not long ago, some of the banks actually came in to buy, buses. The ADB buses, the Uton and those ones. They were just not sustainable. The banks would have continued to invest, right? But if you put in $100,000, $50,000 in CD equivalent 400,000 Ghana cedis.
You're not getting it.
And then the sales you get in at the end of the day is 120 Ghana cedis. Just do your calculation. It could take you 20, 30 years to pay off that investment.
Bus, no.
It's not worth it.
No.
So we have said, and we'll maintain this, the Transport Ministry should stop the capricious, arbitrary, authority that it has given itself to now dictate transport fares. You cannot deregulate fuel prices
and still regulate
transport fares. You would think that, of course, you are helping the commuting public. But what you are invariably doing is that you are killing any investment that would have come to that sector. I will not go and put $10,000 in there and then my daily returns is what, 20 cedis or 50 cedis, because the driver himself at the end of buying fuel, whatever expenditure, what is left with him is so little. If you have deregulated fuel prices and it's going up the way it should and there's no intervention, please stop making those interventions with the drivers, because at the end of the day, the state can force them to take 15%, right? But the kind of services they will provide the people,
you'll pay for
it will be 15% kind of services.
Kind of services.
So
Okay.
It's not right. It's not right. And if we don't stop this and allow the system to be what it is, right? If you are not going to subsidize for fuel, you have no business telling the driver
what they can charge.
Okay. Except that what we have also proposed to them is to get a scientific, way of arriving at these charges where the cost per head per kilometer. Scientific. If you factor fuel at X, right, the cost of investment in owning the truck at Y, the cost of inputs, other inputs like brake parts, the tires and all of that. You should have a standard template that allows you to determine if it is a minivan.
Okay.
The cost per head per kilometer.
That could be, but that could fluctuate a lot or be difficult to do when fuel prices are not stable.
Okay. For most formula, right? If something changes, you only change the variable, and it will give you, the kind of.
True.
It's scientific.
It's okay. All right, George. We'll wrap up with your final comments on this and on transport fares and fuel price increases.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I think I agree with my senior brother. Honestly, I can say the authorities are not fair to drivers in general. Drivers in general, for what I have seen and then the experience I have, drivers in general, we have not been treated fair from authorities to the grassroots. And clearly speaking, if all drivers in this country, we agree with me, all of us will have put our trucks down for just one day, no service, for the government institution, ministries to work. You get the point? For us to see whether they will make revenue from drivers or they will lose revenue. Why am I saying that? If you are a driver in this country, there's no respect for you. All right? Simply because the increment of fuel, as my brother is saying like this, drivers don't own the commercial cars as well as our big trucks that we have. We don't own the trucks. We have our various transporters. And at the end of the day, those minibuses have to account. So as he's saying that, if care is not taken, we experience accidents, a lot of accidents this year. Yes, I agree with him, simply because the driver will even be in hurry, okay, to get as a service for his car owner. Instead of him to relax, because the fuel price has been increased. All right? Now the fare is still the same.
So he has to drive longer, drive more to make the same amount of money.
Exactly. You get a point. You know, the reason why I'm saying that drivers are not be treated, let me use our sector. Okay. All right?
Very quickly.
Yeah. During the COVID time, you get a point. Yes. MPA, by then the chief executive of MPA, Hassan Tampoli, all right, he realized tanker drivers in the country are essential drivers. So we were given a tag to work as essential drivers. Okay. Because when we go back home, the country
nothing
will
can
go down.
move.
Nothing can move. All right? We respect him because we are Ghanaians, we need to serve our country.
Right.
We did that, all right? But after that, His Excellency the President, okay, I look as if they gave a turkey as a cake for the essential workers.
And you didn't
ask Tampoli today from the Parliament. If he's listening or he's looking at me, ask him from the Parliament whether after the whole business, he remember to say, okay, tanker drivers, take a bottle of water as your this essential compensation. You see where I'm coming from?
I understand.
So when you are a driver in this country, nobody respects you. Okay. But if you drive outside this country, I went to US, and clearly speaking, they are drivers. Oh, yes. And the volume of tankers that we operate in this country, our volume is even bigger than US. But they earn more money, the same fuel.
Yes. Oh, yes, we understand.
So why are they treating us like that?
That's the question for the authorities. All right, you've mentioned so many of them today, from BOST to the Transport Ministry to the NPA, and hopefully they are listening and they are watching. And hopefully this fuel price increase will be arrested at some points, because Charlie, we know go fit. That's just the simple truth. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, George, for joining us on Breakfast Daily this morning. And thanks to those of you watching. Please send your messages and your comments in on this. The show is not over. You're still here with us on Breakfast Daily. We've got so much more coming up for you, so don't go anywhere.